To understand our world, we must look through the lens of why.
You are in the middle of a difficult conversation, when your chest tightens and the words you had prepared suddenly vanish. Your brain blue screens, freezing up like a computer overwhelmed by too many open tabs. This sudden, paralyzing blankness is a physiological phenomenon called emotional flooding. April 2026 Google search interest for emotional flooding doubled as people look to describe being psychologically submerged. Rula's 2026 mental health report notes anxiety and depression rose 10%, while workplace stress hit a 15-year global high. High-stress environments push our collective window of tolerance to its breaking point. Emotional flooding is the point where that window finally shatters. Most conflict resolution advice starts with a cultural assumption. The best way to solve a problem is to stay calm, communicate clearly, and use logic. Attempting to talk it out during a flood often triggers the exact opposite of its intended effect. It drives the nervous system toward explosive escalation, total withdrawal, or saying things that cannot be unsaid. This is the paradox of logic. Attempting to fix a biological system crash with a cognitive tool like rational debate makes the conflict physically impossible to resolve. Researcher John Gottman spent 4 decades studying the biology of conflict. He found that emotional flooding is a measurable physiological event that occurs regardless of your resting heart rate. Gottman identified a specific trigger point, the moment your heart rate exceeds 100 beats per minute during a relational interaction. Crossing this line puts the body into a state of diffuse physiological arousal. The body has shifted its focus from conversation to survival. Empathy and listening are biologically deprioritized. When the amygdala detects a perceived threat, like a harsh tone or dismissive look, it fires instantly. It doesn't wait for the rational brain to evaluate the situation. The sympathetic nervous system then floods the bloodstream with adrenaline and cortisol. Digestion shuts down and blood pressure rises. The body is redirecting all available energy away from higher-order thinking to prepare for physical action. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for language processing and impulse control, goes offline. Blanking out or saying things you don't mean is a direct symptom of the rational brain losing its power supply. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a verbal criticism from a partner and a physical attack from a predator. Both trigger the same survival cascade. This creates the content trap. Introducing facts, corrections, or reasonable arguments into a survival state acts as gasoline on a fire. The threatened nervous system processes logical points as fresh attacks. It responds with more adrenaline and higher defensiveness. Logic requires an online prefrontal cortex. Without it, rational debate during a flood is biologically impossible. Recovery follows a strict biological sequence. You cannot skip straight to problem solving. You must establish physiological safety first. Stress hormones take time to metabolize. Biologically, it takes a minimum of 20 minutes for the body to return to its physiological baseline. Taking a break only works if you stop rehearsing the argument. You have to signal safety to your brain using active regulation, like inhaling for 4 seconds and exhaling for 6, to trigger a parasympathetic response. The argument is saved only when the body determines that the survival threat has definitively passed. Stonewalling and brain fog are aggressive biological defense mechanisms. Your nervous system is executing a protective response designed to keep you safe. Once you recognize the physical signals of a flood, you can stop fighting your biology and finally start managing it.
Why settle for shallow facts? Join the intellectual rebellion. Subscribe to Why Lens now.